Hi, welcome to the second video in the Leonardo Da Vinci Down the Rabbit Hole series. Here we will investigate the possibility Leonardo made paintings that can be viewed in 3D when placed in the right order. We will also look a little bit more at the life of Da Vinci, as it helps give a better picture and holds small clues for us to search out too. And we will compare other pictures besides the Mona Lisa in this episode as well. First, for those new to the series, I want to go over some of the basics and what we are looking for to make a 3D image. It requires two pictures, usually taken a few inches away from each other, to mimic the eye differences we see naturally. When combined in cross, the differences align to form an image with depth. What we are looking for are differences that come together in cross and yet will not align when they are flipped or overlap. And the pyramid comparison is the best visual to note that overlap the angles and top of the pyramid do not line up, but yet when viewed in cross, everything lines up and merges. So what we are looking for are differences that come together in cross and yet will not align when they are flipped or overlap. The comparisons are all made in crossview and doesn't require a viewer so that we can see things with the most clarity, as lenses can create aberrations. Tutorials can be found at the easy to see 3D page at headscapes.com. Okay, we start with the Mona Lisa comparisons and with the backgrounds replaced to note similarities and differences. First, there is the Isleworth and Prado that we focused on in the last episode and highlighted the hand and finger differences to show that only when viewed in cross do we see the angles and lines merge, and yet they do not when flipped or overlap. Also take note of the snake road and rock outcroppings next to it. And while viewing in cross, if you close the left eye for a second to let the right eye dominate, you will notice the dark outline will slowly change into the lit version, showing the outline is aligned in both paintings. And as it changes, it almost looks like dawn, and the water above it also shimmers between blue and gold. Next is the Louvre and Prado. The best thing to note in cross is the snake road and the rock outcroppings above it. They align in cross, and yet we can see in the picture for the left eye the outcroppings are further away from Mona. And this is the same as would be seen in any 3D image with the background at a distance. In technical terms, this is called parallax, where an object appears to differ when viewed from different positions. And last, in the Louvre and Isleworth comparison, we see the snake road align, but the rock outcroppings does not align as well as the LP version, as there is some of the outcropping missing from one of the paintings. And in the upper right, we see the line of gold and the line of blue water align again. Special interest is the inkblot test looking spot in the upper right of the gold one. Is it that it's a reflection on the water that makes it look a little weird in just one picture that has no water? Look at the two protrusions on the top left. Notice in cross that it has pairs in the other painting, yet are up and to the right. So with a little tilt of the head to the right and more cross, we can get it to align. Now in that same angle, look at the Mona Lisa and notice everything still aligns. And then I was sent this animation by Klaus Christian Carbon with a morphing between the Louvre and Prado versions to help show the physical evidence in more detail. And I found it mesmerizing to see similar features change, but I had no idea so much was represented in both paintings. And he would also like to make clear that the painting was done in several stages, and so it doesn't take much wonder that each part of the process had a different nature. And now for some Da Vinci history. In the book Vita de Leonardo 1568, Vasari states that as a young man, Leonardo painted a shield of Medusa with snakes around her head. and the painting won such praise that allowed him entrance to an apprenticeship in the prestigious Verrocchio workshop. It is here that he got to learn a vast array of skills from metalworking and chemistry to drafting and mechanics, as well as painting and sculpting. He kept notes and drawings throughout most of his life, and we find most of his notes are written backwards in mirror reverse. Some say it was due to dyslexia, while others state it was to keep his notes secret. And as a side note, let us remember that mirrors were a rarity in Leonardo's day. Wikipedia states, of the notes and drawings from Leonardo, we have found close to 13,000 pages. And Martin Kemp, in a 2011 CNN report, states historians like him believe we have only found 1/5 of the total notes and drawings made by Da Vinci. And towards the end of his life in Rome, a place where he was considered a magician or a shaman, Leonardo even wrote how he found he could capture light. But then we find record that Pope Leo X complained that he never painted. One last detail I would like to cover is the technique that was used in Leonardo's day by most artists to make copies, called pouncing. This is where a preparatory drawing was made, and then from the drawing, the outline was punctured with tiny holes, so charcoal dust could be used on the holes to leave an outline on the canvas below. And so my thought is, with paper being expensive and with the schools also designed to make extra profit by making copies, then I would assume that they would reuse the original to make exact copies, like a primitive Xerox machine. Again, not subjective, but objective representation. Okay, so now let's turn our attention to the most agreed upon version paintings by Leonardo, the Virgin of the Rocks. The differences to note are Madonna's brooch and hand, the angel's head, and the rock pillars. So for this, I traced and highlighted the differences in green and red and used a black background to compare and show how things align and cross. And then in overlap, we can see the differences, especially the brooch. Now, let's do some close-ups to focus on a few details. Okay, here we have Madonna's head, hand, and brooch all come together and cross. And we can note that the brooch is closer and more underneath in one of the paintings when comparing the two. And one painting has a halo while the other does not. And with the rock columns and pillars, we can see the sky spaces all coming together and cross, as well as the angles in the rock bridges on top. Also, look at the cracks underneath the arch. We again see two angles that come together and cross. And the dark areas underneath have a nice shadowing effect when combined. Here we have the Christ child, and almost everything aligns except his left hand. Here is where I find a small tilt of the head to the right helps align the hands. And one painting has a halo, but not the other. And here with St. John the Baptist, most of the areas align like the body and Madonna's hand, but looking at the feet needs a slight right tilt, and looking at the head needs a left tilt to align. And we have the cross in one painting, but not the other. Here we see the different angles of the angel's head come together and align and cross. And we can see Madonna's hand align even though one hand is wider. And the angel's hands and eyes are different from one another. And with all the similarities, I want to mention the differences missing from one painting to the other. The halos, the angel's hands and eyes looking in different directions, and the cross of St. John the Baptist. When we combine all together in cross, we see what can be called ethereal halos in a cross. And now combined, we see an angel pointing and looking over in the direction of the cross. Next, we look at the Madonna and the Yarnwinder paintings. We'll start with the Wikipedia listings and compare the Buchlich and the Lansdowne version with a flip compare, but please note that Wikipedia states that there are over 40 versions known to exist that were made by pupils or followers of Da Vinci. Okay, so when we flip and compare the major versions, we find differences in Madonna's hand, the yarn spindle that the Christ child is holding, as well as the child's bent leg. And I believe the rock outcropping they sit upon was a real object, as we can see the shadow in the corner aligns in both pictures. Then, when we compare the first two with a third from Fine Art America, we see another 3 pair matching. And remember, these are 3 different versions that all align with the pair next to it, and the outer 2 will make a third 3D aligned pair as well. This is most intriguing, as I'm not sure why or how this was done. And with the 6 other versions Wikipedia has, 2 more pairings for us to look at. The first pair has one painting at the Louvre in Paris, and the other is in Mexico City in the Sumaya Museum. Special note is the depth cue we find at the baby's knee in comparison to the rocks next to it. And as in any 3D picture, we would naturally see more space with the right eye and less with the left eye. The second pair has one painting found in the Scottish National Gallery, and the second is in a private collection but was formerly in Chicago. Here we have all sorts of alignment, from the waterfall bridge and rock pillars in the upper right to the basket next to Madonna, and even the cracks in the rock that they are sitting on. Special note is the shimmer of the water with the 2 colors. And even the tree by the river and the group of people align. And then if we zoom in on the people, we see they appear to be building something, but only one painting has a hammer. In cross, we see everything merged like the baby's head, yet if we overlap, we see the differences, especially that the baby is further away from mother in one painting, giving us another parallax or depth cue. And then last, I would like to show you a pairing from another painter. Some may recall that I posted on Facebook 2 paintings by Caravaggio that drew mixed results. Here, I would like to look at another 2 paintings known to have been painted by him. It is the Medusa's head in a circular painting. Some think it might be to pay tribute to Leonardo's shield of Medusa, but it is unknown if he ever saw the original shield, since it remains lost to this day. Now, hopefully we've covered enough to start your curiosity. In the next video in this series, I plan to follow Leonardo's timeline of paintings, as well as look at another painter and his attempts towards 3D. And again, we'll delve into some of the history of Da Vinci for more clues. And I will also go over the easy to see 3D flagship viewer to show how it helps a person learn how to see free 3D in 3 easy steps. And I didn't even have time to go over the camera rigs that I have created mostly for GoPros, so we'll have to shelve that for another time. So till next time, keep searching for the truth and keep your mind open.